Wow, what a beautiful day. No, we did. And yeah, okay, so let's start. Here we go. Okay. God, I don't know what I'm doing.
It's okay.
I get to see the grandkids today, so I'm happy. Okay. This is 2J's in a Pod. My name is Mary Ellen Murphy. I'm sorry.
And I'm Sarah Leach from the Ottawa News Network.
It's a very tough day. Everybody is carrying a very heavy load as we do this podcast on Thursday, 9/11. We will talk about our 9/11 experiences at some point, but let's move right to local news because a lot happened yesterday.
Yes, a lot
in
did.
Ottawa County. Mm-hmm. You and I were texting back and forth. What is your take on this, on the interview process and all of that?
Yeah, so this is the county administrator search for Ottawa County. They brought in 5 finalists, and this was after a very long selection process. And, for those playing at home, this is now the third attempt at trying to identify the next permanent county administrator.
Yeah.
We don't have to get into that because I don't have all day.
No.
And so here we are, and we bring in these 5 people for public interviews, and a couple of them are familiar faces. For one, we have Kirk Dykstra, who was the former mayor of Holland for a minute. He left in 2015, I believe, and pursued other opportunities out of state and expressed an interest in returning. We have Paul Sachs, who is the Director of Strategic Impact within the county, and he's actually been considered as a finalist previously for the role in 2024 when they identified John Anderson to fill that spot after John Gibbs was fired. Sachs was on the short list.
That's right.
And so we also have the deputy administrator from Muskegon. We had an out-of-state candidate from Minnesota, Billings, Minnesota, who is a city manager out there. But I think that everyone really today is talking about Patrick Waterman, who is the former deputy administrator of Ottawa County, who did remain on in 2023 when Ottawa Impact, the far-right a group that sort of assumed a majority on the Board of Commissioners in 23 and 24.
Yeah.
He stayed on for 8 months, trying to work under former Administrator John Gibbs.
Yeah.
And basically when he resigned, and he did explain this pretty honestly and frankly yesterday, that he left because he felt like he was not allowed to perform his job duties as they were described to him. So he said that I made every attempt to try to work with Mr. Gibbs. He didn't name him, but we all know.
He wouldn't even meet with him.
Yeah.
He didn't even, it was ridiculous.
And so that sort of, aligns with a lot of the reporting that we had during that time period where Mr. Gibbs often would only communicate with senior OI leadership. Many of the commissioners were left out of the decision-making process or the input process, and so there was a lot of frustration on all levels. And finally, Mr. Waterman said, this is just not for me. I feel like I'm taking this giant paycheck from the county. I'm not really doing anything of service. And so he ended up leaving. And what's interesting to me is that he became the deputy city administrator over in Wyoming, Michigan, which is where his boss, the former Ottawa County administrator that was fired on day 1 of OI's regime, that is John Shea. He became the city manager over in Wyoming. So he essentially recruited his former deputy to be his deputy again over in Wyoming. So that's really, really interesting. But now he's expressed a desire to potentially return because he still lives in Ottawa County. He said he didn't really want to ever leave Ottawa County's employment, but that he felt like he had to.
Joe Moss's questioning was out of line. He loves to cosplay. He didn't punch on certain words. He was like pretending to be Lawyer Man or something. Come on, Joe. And let me ask you this. Why didn't the vice chair or the board chair stop him in that line of questioning?
Well, I think I expected this to a certain degree. I guess even I was surprised at how far that went. Now, again, anyone who's been paying attention to Ottawa County politics is sort of maybe numb to this at a certain point, but this is sort of part and parcel and sort of a throwback to the way that things were in 23 and 24. And Mr. Waterman sitting there, there's the predetermined questions that interim deputy administrator Ron Franz is asking. The commissioners are allowed to jump in with their own pointed questions as part of the process, but then Mr. Moss jumps in and says, well, I have, you sent emails that accused a former employee of political activity while being paid on the county dole, basically. Now, what I have a problem with is that he never once identifies the employee, even though we know exactly who this is. This is Cindy Dreisinger. This is his former administrative assistant, I guess is what she was. There was a lot of questions about.
Yeah, he just hired somebody. Nobody knew anything about it.
There were a lot of questions about Ms. Dreisinger's
You can't do that in
employment.
a county. Yeah, you can't do that in a county. There's an HR department.
It was widely speculated. It became a point of questioning in the Adeline Hambley termination hearing in October of 2023, in which Mr. Waterman was subpoenaed to testify. He was pointedly asked questions regarding his concerns about this particular person, because Ms. Dreisinger, as far as we know, never was in the county Fillmore Complex building performing any job duties. No one knew exactly what her job duties were. She didn't appear to have any contact with any of the commissioners beyond OI leadership. So there was a lot of speculation in terms of what is it exactly that you do around here.
And rightfully so.
Right. So what Moss said to Waterman was, he inferred that why would you make this accusation against this employee? And Mr. Waterman said, well, I didn't accuse anybody. I expressed concerns. I think I recall what you're talking about, and it's 2 years ago. I don't have the email in front of me. But then Mr. Moss doesn't actually say what the email says. He doesn't say the context in which it was said. He doesn't say when it was said.
Commissioner Moss said that he didn't want him to bring all this baggage.
Well, I think that
you want to talk about baggage.
I want to. I guess it's baggage that they packed, right? I mean, it's we pitched over to Sylvia Rohde. So she was the former vice chair. She's also the vice president of Ottawa Impact. So she and Mr. Moss are very close colleagues. She picks up the line of questioning after Moss talks essentially about Ms. Dreisinger, even though he doesn't name her. She starts talking about things that, quote, ended up in the press, and is sort of inferring that perhaps Mr. Waterman shared information with the press, because the next line of questioning regarded what is your concern about leaks? Because we had a lot of leaks in the past couple of years, and it was very concerning, and it did a lot of damage. And so
maybe it was Justin Barclay who leaked that, because you went on his show all the time.
Well, one of the things that I just want to clarify is that most of what Mr. Moss and Ms. Rohde are referring to, it revolves around testimony that was elicited in October of 2023. And this is when the board attempted to hold a termination hearing to fire Adeline Hambley as the health officer. Now, we all know that case was settled. She's still in her role. However, when lawyers bring in witnesses to testify on a specific matter of litigation, it is not uncommon to have some lines of questioning that maybe deviate from what the main mission is. And that's exactly what we saw in this incident, where Sarah Howard, who was representing Adeline Hambley, starts asking about the hiring of Jordan Epperson, the executive aide, that also is a subject of a separate litigation, and we don't need to get into that right now.
No.
But there's a long and winding road, because at the time there was a multitude of concerning issues that potentially had legal ramifications, and that's why we ultimately saw 7 lawsuits in 14 months against this board. So one of the things that they talked about was the hiring of Epperson, the job responsibilities of Ms. Dreisinger. And so Rohde's point about how did this end up in the press? Well, that's how it ended up in the press. We're covering what's happening in public meetings, and then ultimately that testimony was used to inspire another lawsuit by Ryan Kimball for age discrimination against John Gibbs. And when that lawsuit completed the discovery process, a cache of emails and documents were procured by the plaintiff and his attorney, and those documents were shared with me. The attorney for Mr. Kimball sent it to me because they were a matter of public record.
Right.
Because a lawsuit is a matter of public record. It showed a bunch of unredacted emails, and ultimately that's what ended up in the press. And frankly, anyone who's been following this stuff for since this all started in January of 23, this is one of the very few storylines that I didn't need a leak for. There was no leak. This was just, normal reporting using normal practices and processes. And I just want to be very clear about that because like that, I've never once had a conversation with Patrick Waterman, ever.
And
I don't even have his phone number.
You've never had a conversation with Allison Miedema either, or Sylvia Rhodey, because they won't.
Or Joe Moss.
They will not talk to us.
I mean, you saw me put out that solicitation
on
Facebook to Ms. Miedema because
I did.
You know, she kind of wrote this diatribe about, you know, like how I'm, you know, like the worst.
She said you riled up a community.
Yeah. And I said, I'm happy to talk to you whenever you're ready. And I never heard from her.
You reported the truth. How much money has Ottawa Impact cost this county? I would love for Joe to sit across from me and look into my eye and tell me that he did not offer Adeline Hambley $4 million. Mm-hmm. He won't do it.
Yeah.
Because he lied.
You saw that come up yesterday on that hot mic moment.
He lied. Yeah, Jacob Bonema. What was that all about? There was a hot mic moment. I don't know if you saw it, but whoa.
Yeah. So after this whole, you know, problematic line of questioning, there was some people that were clearly upset about it. And as they wound down and they dismissed Waterman, and the chair gets empty, and you hear Jacob Bonema, who you know is a commissioner on the board. He was there in the term during OI. He actually originally was a member of OI, but
yes.
he split up from them, you know, very quickly in 2023, and he's become one of their biggest critics. And he says, while the mics are still active, you know, real nice, Joe, you know, that was just completely out of line. Mm-hmm. And then Mr. Moss says, the truth hurts. Mm-hmm. And then Bonema says, well, if you want to talk about the truth, let's talk about $4 million. Would that be a good line of questioning for us to talk about? Mm-hmm. And then the mics go dark, but because everyone realizes, oh crap, you know, hot mic moment. But it really does sort of show like the undercurrents of what's happening in these conversations with these people, you know, behind closed doors, if they're talking at all. And then at the end of the meeting, there's additional comments that are being made. Where, especially in public comment, where there's a couple of ladies who attend every meeting. They're part of the, you know, more progressive you know, community, but still they basically shared the same sentiment that they were deeply disappointed in Mr. Moss and Ms. Rhodey's line of questioning because they did not hold this level of scrutiny up to any other candidate. There were no pointed questions to any other candidate, and frankly, it you know, if you're going to do that, if you're going to try to elicit a gotcha moment, that at least be transparent about what you're doing. But it was just a very kind of surface level, not very well thought out. You know, it's just politicking. You know, it's just trying to do some damage, and it wasn't very productive at all.
I think they're afraid of Patrick Waterman, quite frankly, and they should be. I mean, he's not going to. If he gets hired, he's not. He can read them like the back of his hand. He's not going to put up with anything.
Well, I think that he probably. Again, I've never met the man. I've never even spoken to the man, so
I haven't either.
I can't surmise like how he approaches his job, but the way that he presented himself yesterday, in his own words, I kind of liken it to the way that I approach my job. There might be people who don't like me. There are people who clearly hate me in this community, and I will still go back to work for them because I still have my job to do.
Right.
I will still write about them. I will still try to bring information to them. I will still hold true to that mission every single day. And I think that he's of the same ilk. I think that if he gets hired, I think that he's going to try to work with every person on that board. He's not going to try to, you know, ice anybody out. He just doesn't seem like that kind of guy.
No, and I don't want anybody to be iced out. I just want things to move smoothly and no more of this BS. Enough.
Yeah, well, there's so much that depends on who this person is. I mean, there's so many decisions that have been put on hold to wait for who the administrator is because it really does matter who that person is and how that process looks depending on what thing we're talking about.
How do you think Kirk Dykstra did?
It's been a minute since I saw him. So he was the mayor of Holland for about 6 years. I think he had 3 two-year terms, and that was while I was at the Sentinel when we still had an office.
Yeah.
So we were still working. This is all pre-COVID. He's very charismatic. I will give you that. There are a couple of, you know, there's some personality differences in the 5 finalists. Like some of them are a little bit more stoic. Some of them are a little bit more. I don't know. They're all of them are deeply intelligent, but some of them are high energy and some of them are low energy, right? And some of them are a little bit more studious, and so it all kind of depends on, you know, the personality type. He by far is the most charismatic candidate.
Oh yeah,
it's clear that he has ran for elected office and has held elected office, and he knows how to answer questions. He knows how to charm. I think he's bringing a little bit more of a politicized face to that position potentially, which I'm not sure how that would play. While he is sort of a hometown hero kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think that a lot of people are yearning for an apolitical person in this position, and maybe some of his background might compromise that a little bit.
Wow. And you and I were texting back and forth yesterday. At one point, the man from Montana that was being interviewed, he was looking at his watch. Because I bet you he had a flight he had to get to.
I think
because things were kind of running a little bit behind and all of that. So tomorrow, the Board of Commissioners will make a decision.
They will.
They will vote. So we could know at some point, it's a 9 o'clock meeting, I would assume. So we should know by noon.
Well, it depends on how long discussion goes.
Discussion, that's right.
Because I think that Teeples will allow for a lot of meandering, to allow everyone to share their thoughts. I think that there's going to be some politicking and sermoning going on from some of the commissioner chairs, depending on who we're talking about. But I would be shocked if there are not prepared speeches brought in from the Ottawa Impact faction.
Okay.
And you technically you have to give 10 minutes to anyone who's recognized on the floor during discussion per Robert's Rules of Order. So times that by 4, that's potentially 40 minutes just for discussion on one particular line of questioning. It could be duplicated over and over again. It depends on when he decides to sort of say, okay, we're done, let's vote.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed the planning and policy and the finance because the power went out and then they reloaded the interview, and then we were like, what is going on? So I don't know anything that happened there.
Well, that was kind of hilarious though, because I was in the middle of watching it, and it was Commissioner Doug Zylstra, who's the board's lone Democrat, and he was making some points. It's about mileage for the county commissioners, and Moss, kind of saying, well, should it be taxable and not taxable? And I mean, I literally was falling asleep in front of my laptop, and then all of a sudden you heard like this pop, and then that rainbow Technicolor that you used to see at the end of the night when we had the old boob tubes. Yeah. After they played the national anthem. Yep. And so I was like, wait, right in the middle of that riveting conversation, how will it turn out? I have yet to go back and watch it because I had life to live.
Yeah. It's 9/11 today. I had family that they survived, but they don't want to relive this every year. Why do we relive this every year?
Well, it's I think that people view anniversaries of this nature in a very complicated way. It's kind of, not to make this about myself, and it's not apples to apples, but when you lose a parent, like I lost a parent very young, right? And so whenever the anniversary of her death comes up, some years I remember that it's the day, and some years I don't.
Got it. Okay.
And the years that I don't, the next day or two, I realize it was. And while I am thankful that I didn't have to live through that hellscape during that day, I feel a tangible, feeling of guilt. I feel like I have to go through that process in order to be like a good daughter, to pay homage to her memory. It's a weird psychological space to be in. And in an event this large, this traumatic, it was such a, it was a it was a generational changing event for our country and for the world in many respects. So that's why I think that people feel like we can't just not say anything and honor it.
I understand that. I just don't need to see what happened that day in real time. I don't need to see the planes crashing. I was on the air when it happened. I was there.
Are they even showing that anymore?
Yes, they do.
I didn't think that they were.
And they play calls back, and I just wonder what that does to our psyche. That's all. I was there. I had family that lives in New York City. I was there on the radio. Skip Essick, who used to work at WJR, we were standing in the newsroom, and one plane had hit the tower, and then the second one hit, and that was it. He was like, that's it. We're under attack. And we went full CBS News for 5 days.
Wow.
And then they had us out on 28th Street passing out American flags and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
It was yay, America. Well, it did bring the country together, you guys.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah. Yep.
It did. And where were you? You were in college?
I was in college.
I mean, I can't even. That's really. Oh, and we closed on our house on 9/11.
Oh, did you?
So after work, I had to go and we had to sign papers. We closed on a house and we didn't celebrate. We were so upset and sad, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was devastating.
I remember, I didn't realize what was going on until maybe about 20 minutes after the second plane had hit, because I was actually in class. And so at the time, I went to Central Michigan University. We had our newspaper down in the cinder block basement of Ann Spa Hall.
Why do they always put you down there?
Because they never want the truth to see the light. So we were down there, and across the hall, the way that this was set up, the journalism department and the staff offices were down there, and so we kind of had like that whole control of the lower floor, and it was a production day. So back in those days, we put out a print newspaper 3 times a week, and it happened to be a Tuesday. Which was the day that we would produce the paper for the Wednesday edition. And the journalism staff were rolling out those big metal framed, like where you put the boob tubes on top, where you had a video in class, whenever you had a substitute teacher kind of style. And they rolled it across and they plugged it in, and we're watching the towers burning. And at that, I mean, I'm looking at that going, okay, I see what's going on. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm immediately doing this calculation in my head. I'm the editor-in-chief of the paper. And I'm like, oh, God, what does this mean? And so my advisor walked in. There's a whiteboard right next to the television, and he takes out a marker, and he draws in giant capital letters, "Another Day in Infamy." And he says, that is your headline. And he said, I hope that you're prepared for this, because you're going to be leading this news day. And now, to be fair, I wasn't exactly a young spring chicken. I started college a year late. I didn't start until I was 19, and it took me 5 years to get through. So I am now 24 years old.
Okay.
Not exactly seasoned, but I'm not 12, right? And so I think that there's a little bit of a difference where you've seen some life things, you've been through some stuff. I had gone overseas for an internship. Like I had, a little bit of adulting under my belt. And so we called a staff meeting, and these kids, like my youngest one was 17-year-old freshman, and they're crying and they can't get through to their moms. And so I basically just said, look, anyone who can't focus today, I absolutely no judgment. You need to go home and you need to go take care of whatever you need to take care of. Anyone who's willing to stay, let's meet in the meeting room, and we're going to figure out what we're going to do. And so it was a balance between trying to get the news out, figuring out what angles were actually accomplishable while the world is in chaos and potentially ending, and trying to mom these kids through this process. I mean, it was
Sarah.
And I never broke. It's one of the life-changing moments that I'm most proud of in my career and in my life. We didn't put the paper to bed until 3 a.m, which was way past deadline, but obviously the printer, was very sympathetic. We even had accounts from the Pentagon. We were able to find people who had relatives that worked as staff members in the Pentagon that were able to talk about that. What?
I just went,
oh my gosh.
Sorry. Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I was really, really proud of what we were able to accomplish that day for being just student journalists, right? And then I was driving home because I was commuting from Mount Pleasant to Alma, because I was living in Alma at the time. And I had to pull over on the highway, and I just ugly cried for like 15 minutes.
So you did lose it.
It was all, because you have, like, again, I think that people who have gone through certain significant traumas in life become very good at compartmentalizing. And frankly, it has come in handy many times in my career.
It does. It does. Yep.
It's
interesting because I lost it yesterday. I was watching the Bulwark podcast, and I forget the woman's name, forgive me, but Tim Miller and her, they had been crying. They were visibly upset. They were friends with Charlie. They've had him on.
Charlie Kirk, yeah.
Yeah, they've known him for a long time. I'm watching that, and I just lost it. The death of Charlie Kirk. I don't even know where to start with this. This is horrible, what happened. And I was on Twitter, and I was just looking for some things, and I accidentally, you know how like when you scroll and sometimes something will just start playing? And I saw...
Did you accidentally see the video?
I saw the video, and
Yeah.
all I kept thinking was, that was one bullet.
Yeah.
What would 25 do to somebody? It's horrible.
Right.
I don't even know where to start with this. This is horrible what happened. If this doesn't bring us together, I don't know what will.
I'm not sure if it can.
The divide in this country, I'm exhausted.
Because these sorts of incidents just end up inspiring more hatred and more violence. And I mean, I just don't see how this is going to be a kumbaya moment between the left and the right. In fact, I think it's just going to continue to divide. We're seeing a lot of commentary on social media about, see, this is the crazy left, and you asked for violence and you got it. Are you happy now? And then there's the right saying, we're coming for you.
Yeah.
I'm deeply worried, and I think that this just incited a whole new generation of hatred in one way or another.
Wow. I know that he spoke to young men in a way that nobody else was able to get through. A lot of young men have told me that he really spoke to me in a way. I'm going to say it, young white men.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
And young white men in this country feel like they have been ignored for the last few decades, that nobody cares about them. And so he was able to speak to them in a way. He also would like to debate, and that's wonderful. He was on Bill Maher for an hour and they sparred. But
I want to kind of contextualize that a little bit, because he was the prove me wrong guy. He started off on social media, going around to college campuses, and he would put that whole prove me wrong banner that was underneath the table. He would go to college campuses and basically, I mean, he was much more schooled and learned in many issues, and to some degree, it was a little bit of a it's easy pickings, because you can look. I win arguments with my children too, because I'm better at it,
right?
And I know more stuff. And so he would sort of do that in college campuses, and that's sort of his rise to fame, is that he kind of capitalized on that viral moment, and then was able to found Turning Point at a very young age. And sort of kept that momentum going. I think that people. Look, I'm sure that he was very devout in his beliefs, and my heart goes out to his family, his friends. No one should be gunned down.
It's horrible.
Anything.
Horrible.
I mean, unless you are in grave bodily danger or harm, and death, you don't really have a right to ever hurt another human being. And I wish that we could just stop there. Unfortunately, what we're seeing on social media for the most part, which, boy, is that a terrible thing right now in this conversation. We see, but he said this, and so he got what was coming to him, or you play stupid games, win stupid prizes, like that kind of thing. That's not helping anything, you guys.
No,
it's not helping anything. It's frankly, you're no better than the person who did this.
Right. I'm just sad. I'm just sad.
And pointing fingers. No one asks to be murdered. No one. No one asks to do that. I do think that when you're a public figure, you do take some calculated risks. I really wish that there had been tighter security
and
at that event.
He does travel with. He traveled with his own security team, is my understanding.
Immediately around him, but I was listening to interviews of people who were on the scene, and they said they weren't even checking our tickets, and there was no real filtering. And I'm like, you have to. I just wish that maybe it shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? And, we wish that we could go back and make sure that it didn't happen.
And just the things that you're seeing on social media, like you say, we're coming for you, libtards, this is on you. This is, somebody posted something, of course, anonymously, but I think I know who it is. Pure Prairie League wrote a song about her, and Vince Gill sings the vocals, and she spells her name the same way. You can figure out who I'm talking about. She posted something in, Ottawa Town Square or something, that you have blood on your hands.
Yeah.
What the heck is that about?
Yeah, me by name, yeah.
Really?
It's
you
fascinating.
have blood on your hands because you covered a Turning Point event at Grand Valley?
I didn't even cover it.
You didn't even cover it. What are you talking about?
Well, that's exactly what I mean by you're taking a tragic event, which just needs to be that tragedy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be about anything else, right? Stop extrapolating. That's where we get into trouble, is we start rationalizing and justifying hateful thoughts and behavior against the groups that we don't agree with. And so by saying, an inflammatory thing like that, I'm not concerned about the person who posted it. I'm concerned about the people who I don't know who are reading it. Because I will tell you that I've been through an experience like this before.
Right.
And it was in 2017, and I felt like I had no choice but to take out a personal protection order against a reader. And it was, it was publicized. You can go back and read about it. I don't have to get into the specifics, but it was right after Trump was elected in his first term, and there was protests and counter protests, and the world was on fire. And this person, he started to fixate on me. And so while we're going through this process, I got tons of threats. I had to call the police several times because people were saying that they were going to come to my house.
Oh my
They
gosh.
were going to make sure that I wouldn't be able to walk. I mean, it was all anonymous threats, and so you had I was terrified. I was pregnant with my third child at the time.
Oh my gosh.
So while I was 3 days away from giving birth to her when I waddle in and get this protection order. But I mean, honestly, while it was slightly relieving, I didn't feel safe. And the next morning, a staff member of the Sentinel called me, and she said, "I don't think that you should come in today." And I said, "Why?" Because it was the way that she was saying it. And she said, I don't want to stress you out any more than what you already have. And I said, "Just tell me." And she said that a rock had been thrown through the plate glass window of the front entrance of the Sentinel. And I know that the person that I took that protection order out against, he was old. I mean, he was in his 70s. There's no way that guy did it. It was somebody else that got riled up with all of the stuff that he was posting on Facebook. That is the cumulative effect that where we have to take responsibility for the speech that we put out into the world. When it is emotionally charged, politically charged, we have to take a tiny sliver of ownership of the momentum and the cumulative effect of the next person who sees it, gets inspired by it, picks up that torch and runs with it, even though that's not what we intended.
Right.
We have to take a little bit of responsibility in this world for that.
I'm so tired of the divide. I'm tired of the anger. I'm tired of the fighting. I don't want to live like this.
Yeah.
Do Republicans, Democrats, I don't care what you are. Is this how you want to live for the rest of your life? I'm 62 years old. I want some happiness. I want people to get along.
Well, didn't I say, not last week, but maybe I think it was the week before, the greatest issue that is going to face our children's generation is going to be about gun control and gun violence and all of the violence that is happening in this country. And it was like, I couldn't, this event, this incident is terribly timed to coincide with that point. It will not stop.
I don't understand why you wouldn't put flags at half-staff for lawmakers that were killed in Minnesota, for a lawmaker that was elected. You won't put flags at half-staff for children that are slaughtered in schools.
Well, again, I think we're going back to those tribal politics, right? And that's exactly where the administration is. It's very much entrenched in tribal politics. That's what we see locally too. Toxic tribal politics. I think that we are in a point in society where we have all this technology and we feel like we're so advanced because, we got computers and AI and we've got, machines that do work for us, and we can have a fairly comfortable life that we're not toiling in the fields and dying, of tuberculosis when we're in our 20s. However, we have become so entitled and complacent in that moment where we forget that we also are still animals. We still have these baser instincts where we want to be a part of a tribe and we don't want anyone else from a different tribe coming over, and our tribe is the best, the bestest, and the brightest, and we will protect it for everything. It's that line of thinking that just continues to go on and on. I don't like being a part of any clubs. I'm not a card-carrying member of any of these political parties. Frankly, I like to think independently. I don't like to just sign up for a platform and then feel like I am beholden to it. That's just not who I am. It's just not who I am. I wish more people would be brave enough to say, hey, I'm not going to get ostracized from my church community just because I happen to, have this one dissenting belief about this one topic. We need to be brave enough to have those conversations.
Yeah, so if you have a beef with Sarah or I, don't post anonymously. Use your real name. Or I'll tell you what, you can send me an email, emmymurphy@wghn.com. Send me an email.
Yeah.
Don't send me a letter in the don't send a letter in the mail that's unsigned or a fake phone number, which she's done. Don't do that.
Well, that's another point is that
If that was her, we don't know that.
is that the difference between us and some of these people, which, look, if you're posting anonymously and you're posting crap like that, you're a troll. I
Yeah,
mean, that is
exactly.
the literal definition of
Right.
what trolling is. It is so hard to put your name on something that you know is going to upset people. It's so hard. You have to take that responsibility for the work product that you put out, for the people that you interviewed, that you're quoting accurately, that you're curating the information in an accurate and honest way. Look, I have to be brave every day and put my name on stuff.
Yes, you do.
So I think that I'm not going to respect a single thing that you're saying or trying to convey unless you do the same.
There you go. What a heavy load we're all carrying, though. You can almost see it. You can feel everyone is just kind of like,
Yeah.
it's awful.
I know. The second that I heard that there was just a shooting,
Oh gosh.
and we weren't even sure if he had just been taken away. We weren't even sure if he had been shot at
Yeah.
that point. I just thought, oh my God, this is going to be the worst thing ever.
I don't want to assume that he died instantly, but from what I saw, they knew exactly what artery. I mean, this is horrific. It's horrific, and I don't know how we come out of this. I don't know if this will incite more violence.
I think it will.
I want to go home and I want to just hug my. I want to hug my grandkids today. I'm gonna start crying. I'm just exhausted. I am mentally and emotionally exhausted. I'm so effing tired. And I'm tired of the fighting and the anger and the name calling.
Yeah.
I've done it too. But I don't say things like libtard.
Yeah.
I don't say that.
I don't believe in name calling. I think it's juvenile. I've never incited violence. I've never spoken about anyone in my professional writing or on any speeches, podcasts, in any public way. I've never once condoned any of this, these conversations, these names, this behavior, this very charged language. I avoid it with every fiber of my being because, look, I have to live in the somewhat public space too.
I know.
I'm not a public official, but I operate in the public space.
Yes, you do.
I have to be very careful about the speech that I put out there and the work product that I put out there. And I just wish that more people would be cognizant of that too, because I sleep just fine at night when someone's not sending me, thinly veiled threats.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. I mean, I did have.
But I was scared. I was.
Oh yeah.
I got it. I'll have a truly vulnerable, honest moment with you.
Please do.
I was scared. These sorts of things are meant to intimidate and to inspire fear and anxiety, and it worked. It did.
Okay.
But anyone who's thinking about doing it again tomorrow, I still got up today and went back to work. I mean, the two can mutually be true. I'm not going to stop doing my job.
There you go.
It's. I believe in my work, and I believe in telling people what's going on in their communities, and I am committed to doing that job.
There you go. I had I don't want to call it a luxury, but I do news, but I also host a radio show. So it's filled with music, and I let music do a lot of the comforting today. I did. I just found specific songs that maybe would help somebody if they were feeling sad or this or that. And music just sort of kind of like went through the morning and did the talking. I didn't have to. And nobody cares about my opinion anyway. They don't care. I had an opinion.
I don't know. People listen to this.
Well, that's true. That's true. But I had an opinion column in the Grand Haven Tribune for almost 5 years, and it was a struggle because it was an opinion column. I would state my opinion, and then people would call the radio station or write me an email, and they'd be mad about it. And I'd be like, well, it's an opinion column. What do you want me to do? You want me to write about, it's an opinion column. And I think I used the word fascist once, but I've never, said name calling and all of that nasty stuff. When will it end? When will it end?
I don't really see an end in sight. I mean, I'm not to bum everybody out, but it's just one of those things that we're going to have to weather. I think, honestly, I think that we have to wait for this current Trump administration to be over and see how things sort of shake out. We're in this for the long haul at this point. Hey, this is what the country ultimately voted for. We have to take responsibility for that decision as a society. We need to stop pointing fingers at people because it's not going to change the reality of where we're at. But please stop hurting people. Please stop hurting people.
Please.
All of us, stop hurting people. Stop trolling people you don't know. Stop, calling people names. Stop posting in other places about people that you don't know. Mm-hmm. You don't know what what snowball you're rolling down from the top of the hill. You just don't know.
You're right.
Grow up. Because eventually they lead to incidents like where somebody becomes radicalized and sits on top of a roof and kills somebody. Stop doing that. Let's stop giving them these ideas.
I had Barbara Lee Van Horsen in the studio today, of all people.
Oh, yeah?
Of all people. She was in for a Grand Haven Main Street spotlight for the Momentum Center.
She's the perfect person to talk to
right now. Of all people. And she was just so calming. And then...
Yeah, she's got a very soothing personality.
When she was done, I played Todd Rundgren's Love is the Answer. And the line, and we'll end the podcast with this, the line in the lyric goes, "Light of the world, shine on me. Love is the answer." Mm-hmm. There's only love and fear. I choose love.
Yep.
This has been 2 J's in a Pod.